What's going on, guys? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to install your Fardriver bracket for your BombMoto. Now I just want to take a quick second to tell you guys I appreciate you for purchasing one from me, and big shout out to you guys for all the support. So let's get right into it. Excuse the messy garage in the process of actually wiring this thing together, finally get it running, but I wanted to take a second to hopefully make this a little bit easier for the install. So I do have two options. This is a prototype version, and this one is closer to what you'll actually receive. So we have obviously one that has fan mounts on it. Now these will come with the hardware, the 8 bolts that you need to mount your fans, but you will have to get fans yourself. Now if you do want me to set it up for you, we'll work out a price, but I'll go ahead and I'll put a 2-pin connector on here, add the opposite side, and then just have a black and a white sticking out. So all you got to do is crimp this onto your 12 volt, whatever switch you're using. So that is an option. Just let me know and we'll take care of you. But you'll also get the 4 bolts and nuts to mount the actual Fardriver itself. Now these will work for a 72-450. I believe there's a new model, the 72-340, that shares the same body as the 450. And also I make these a little bit smaller for the 72-300, 72-240, stuff like that. Now I also do make a separate one without the fan mounts. That way if you're not planning to run a fan, for instance the 72-450 on the BombMoto running 100 amps on the stock motor, you ain't gonna need cooling because these things ain't gonna get hot. But yeah, so those are the two options. I guess technically 3 if you have a different controller. But yeah, so let's go ahead get right into it. Show you how to take the plastics off, what tools you'll need, and hopefully make this a nice smooth install. So let's go ahead and go over the tools that you will be needing. First, you're going to need a 12mm box end, 8mm box end. You're going to need a 6mm Allen, 5mm. You're going to need a 4mm, and then we have a 3mm and a 2.5mm. Now, first thing we need to do to get started is head over to our bike, and we are going to remove the seat. So we'll come down here underneath the fender and we will unscrew the wing nut here, take the seat off. Once we have our wing nut off, we'll go ahead to the back, lift this up, pull this straight out, and our seat is off. And next we will go to our top of plastics and we will grab our 5mm Allen and unscrew the little seat stay right here, just like so. Next up, we'll grab our 4mm, and then what we're going to want to do is go to the side covers and the top of the plastics, and then you're going to have one screw here, you're going to have one screw down here, and then if you look down in here, you're going to have one at the top of the plastics, focus, and then another one on the top of the top plastics. And then basically you're just going to repeat that for the second side over here. And then we have one more thing to do, then we can pull off the rest of the plastics. Now we want to grab our 6mm and our 12mm. Then we go back to here. What we're going to do is put our box end wrench right here and hold it down. And then come down from the underside. And then we're going to grab our 6mm, and then we're going to go ahead and unscrew both of these bolts down here. Then we get the plastics off. Now once we've unscrewed both of the screws and bolts, we're going to go ahead and lower the back seat bracket down, just like so. Be careful because they will fall and your nuts will disappear. So try to keep everything together. Then from here, go ahead and zoom out real quick. So next up, all we have to do is lift up just like so, and then we're going to slide it back, and our plastics are removed. Of course, we go to our side panels, pop those off. Oops. And as you can see, we are ready to install the bracket. Now, first thing I would recommend is installing your BombMoto B1 battery. That way it's not too much of a pain in the butt trying to wiggle it through with the controller taking up room right here. Now if you have a 72-300, it might be a little bit easier, but as bulky as the 72-450 is, it's best to put your battery in first. Let's go ahead and grab our mount and we'll get started. Now with our mount in hand, we've got all of our nuts and bolts and our 3mm Allen. What we're going to do is take the bracket itself. Now if you notice, the ends right here stick out just a little bit. So what you'll need to do is come in at an angle, and then you'll slide them up underneath these top plastic tabs just like so. And then you'll go ahead and push down, get it nice and flat. You should have room for your little seat post thing right here, just like so. And as you can see, the bracket actually sits underneath this tab right here. Now if it was too high, the plastics would not sit flush, so I did have to make this part a little bit lower. So what I did to combat that, as you can see, I got a couple holes right here. I'm going to be including zip ties with your kits. So let me grab those real quick and I'll show you what we're using them for. I got my zip ties right here. So basically all we're going to do is poke that right through. We're going to go ahead and zip tie this just like so. And then basically this is going to keep this mount nice and solid. That way it's not going to be able to lift up, or when you have the controller under here, it doesn't exactly pinch the bottom of the tube, because like I said, I had to lower this to keep it under where the plastics sit flush. So these zip ties are going to allow it to be snug on the frame. It's not going to allow it to jump up anywhere. Same with this side. Going to want to stick that through. This one may be a little bit trickier. It's a little bit harder to get through the other side, but you just got to work with it. If you need to, take the tip, bend it up a little bit, kind of help guide it through. But as soon as you get it through, zip tie these both down. We'll go ahead and snip these off here in just a second. But as you can see, nice clean look to it, and it absolutely is not going anywhere. All right, so let's go ahead and start mounting up the controller. Now, once you have your controller in hand, basically you want to look at it upside down like it's going to be installed. And what we want to do before we actually start stuffing this in there is we want to connect our harness, and we want to go over and we want to bolt down our phase and our battery leads. And that's where you kind of want to start thinking about which way you want your wiring to go. So if you're going to have your phase cable sticking out this side, so go ahead, take the controller, go ahead, bolt the phase and the battery leads down just like so. And then with the harness, you can kind of just feed them through with your hand. Bring the controller over just like so. Get my battery cables out of the way here. And then just like that, we're going to stuff it in. Then another thing we want to look out for is this brake cable, especially on the 450. You want to run this in between the two tubes right here. Let's see where my finger is. And then once we have that, we can pull the controller up and into position. Now with our controller into position, this part is going to be important, especially for the fitment of the plastics. So you'll have these 4 bolts included, and they have a nice low profile, like a flange type of head. We want these to go in pointing downwards. Now once you have everything installed, you have your harness out of the way, you got your battery leads, phase cables all hooked up before you installed the Fardriver. And we have all 4 of our bolts going in face down just like so. We're going to take our 8mm and we're going to grab onto the nut, and then we're going to take our 3mm Allen and we're going to snug these down. Now you can snug them down pretty tight, just don't go overboard, and you're good to go. And then we'll go over how to clearance the plastics, the side covers on here, so we can ensure a smooth fit. Now I have our Fardriver locked down nice and tight. So we'll go ahead and worry about how we're going to, say, tuck the phase cables. Now if you bring these down to the side like so, the cover will have plenty of clearance. You can bring this back and into the battery cables off the battery, get that all connected, have this kind of out of the way. Again, we'll go to our harness. Sorry, I do not have this plugged in. And then go ahead, plug our stuff in, like our throttle, our 3-speed, hall plug, all that good stuff. And then go ahead, zip tie it, tuck it out of the way, back here, however you may want to do that. We're just going to focus on the bracket and installing the controller. As far as wire management, you're on your own with that. But yeah, so once you got everything hooked up and you're ready to put your covers on, what we're going to need now is either, I use some tin snips. I also used a box knife. It's up to you how you want to clearance your tops. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and show you what was needed in order to clear not only the bracket, but also the fan mounts if you're doing the fan mount version as well. Now, first we will go over our fan side. So as you can see, these are set back quite a bit of ways. So what you're gonna need to do is hold the plastics up. You're gonna make sure you're in line with your holes right here. And then basically what I did was I took a box knife and I gave myself a little line right around the edges where these would be, and then I cut back maybe about a half inch, maybe 3/4. Now none of these cuts you're going to be able to see once you get your top plastics on, so don't worry about how it might look, or if you kind of messed up a little bit. This stuff will be completely hidden, but it is important to make sure everything fits, because if you do try to shove this in and not clearance it, you'll end up breaking the mount. So I just want to make sure you guys don't do that. Now next up, which is going to be for anybody even without the fan mounts, what you first want to do is cut out this little box section right here. As you can see, the end of the curve right here, the plastics would normally come all the way out and in. So I went to the edge of my mount here and basically just cut a little square out. That way, once my plastics go in, I have a nice little notch to sit in, just like so. And then the back as well. This one, I believe it comes out just a tiny bit, and then it starts to curve in right here. So what I did is I went from the corner all the way to the bottom of the curve and just cut out a diagonal right there, and that seems to work perfect. Make sure they fit. Again, not forcing anything. If you force stuff, it will break. These are just plastic. It's 3D prints. So if you're not careful, you can snap it with too much force. As far as the controller and the way it's mounted, this thing absolutely is not going anywhere. And to show you on this side of the plastics, as you can see, I got my little square cut out, and I actually do not have anything cut out on this side. So going over the process again, kind of line up our hole like so. Then we'll bring this down, line it up with our hole where it's going to be, and then we push it in, making sure we are clearing the mount from all contact. And as you can see this, we are getting pretty close, but we're actually lined up, so I do not have to cut those at all. So primarily, and hopefully you guys will only have to cut out this little square right here. And of course, if you do have the fan mounts, you just kind of want to drop it back a little bit, mark yourself a little line here, mark yourself a little line right there, cut it back maybe ½ inch, 3/4, cut that out, and you're good to go. Now, last but not least, for anybody who ordered these for a fan, I will be providing 4 of these N4 by 16 millimeter long bolts. They use a 2.5 millimeter Allen, and these holes are the perfect size that they will actually thread themselves. So you just want to be nice and careful. Once you get your fan snug down, give it a little quarter turn, nothing too crazy, and these things should not pull out at all. So your fans will be nice and solidly mounted in there. And then from there, just wire them up to 12 volt and you're good to go. Again, if you do order the fan mount version, I will not be providing fans unless, you know, we work out some kind of deal, and then I'll get one wired out for you. But these are for 50 millimeter fans, and they are 10 millimeter thick. So that way the 16 millimeter bolt will work perfect for them. If you wanted to go with like a 20 millimeter fan, something like that, you will have to find your own bolts, but just know that they will be M4 bolts. That way they will fit in these holes right here. That is going to do it for this video. Now, I do not have this actually bolted down, but just to show you that everything is nice and completely hidden, you actually do have a ton of airspace in here, so you should get plenty of airflow to the controller regardless whether you have a fan version or not. But now you have a nice solidly mounted Fardriver in your BombMoto B1. Again, big shout out to you guys for all the support. Hope this video helped, and I'll see you next time. Peace.